Mosquitoes. Don't you just hate it when they bite you? I do too. And usually when I find a mosquito biting me, I will smack it, and then my hand will be covered in blood. However, a few days ago, I found a mosquito biting me, and instead of smacking it like I usually do, I very carefully caught it in my palm and held onto it long enough to put it in this glass right here. I don't know if you can see the mosquito. There it is, right there. There it is. This mosquito 3 days ago, when I caught her, her abdomen was bright red, blood red, because my blood was inside it. So now it's a little bit darker and it's smaller as well because she's digested my blood. The female mosquitoes, it's always the females that will bite you and suck your blood. It's the female mosquitoes that need your blood in order to reproduce, in order to grow her eggs. Male mosquitoes just go and get nectar from flowers. They're very passive. They're not the bother. It's the female mosquitoes that are. And so why do I have this mosquito here? Well, she is my co-star. And usually I don't put my co-stars in glasses and cover it with saran wrap and tape, but I will make an exception for her. Now, I want to tell you about mosquitoes, and I want to tell you most importantly about malaria. Malaria is a mosquito-borne disease. It's very deadly. It affects about half of the world's population, and every single year about 200 million people are infected with malaria, and about 500,000 people die from the disease. Many of these people that die from malaria are in sub-Saharan Africa. Many of them are pregnant women, young children, especially children under the age of 5. Malaria impacts humanity in a massive way. It affects families, societies, nation states, and the economies of nation states and entire regions. And just imagine if you were in a place where a huge number of people, their immune systems are compromised because of a deadly disease that's borne by mosquitoes. And in fact, malaria is estimated to have affected almost half of all the human beings who've ever lived. It's estimated to have killed nearly half of all human beings who have ever lived, which is a shocking number to wrap your head around. So that's why it's really important for us to keep focus on malaria prevention, treatment, and eventual eradication. I've had malaria many different times, and I've been very lucky in that I've been able to get diagnosed early enough and then been able to be put on the proper treatment and thus be cured of the disease. However, many people around the world have not been as fortunate. In fact, when I was in Western Kenya a few years ago, a friend of mine told me that his son was in the hospital, and I didn't know about it at the time, and then I asked my friend a little bit more about it, and eventually I ended up speaking to the nurse on duty, and she told me that my friend's son had such a severe case of malaria that it was affecting his brain, and that they were worried he was going to go into a coma. And unfortunately, a little while later, my friend's son did go into a coma, and he did not survive. I think about that a lot because I wonder if my friend's son would still be alive if he had been diagnosed and treated for malaria before the disease could ravage his body like that. Since 2000, deaths from malaria have declined, and this is in large part due to improved prevention and treatment, such as insecticide-treated bed nets and new classes of drugs. However, it's still a constant race because mosquitoes are evolving to be resistant to insecticides, and malaria, the parasite, Plasmodium parasite, which causes malaria in humans, is also evolving resistance against drugs. So it's still a constant race to keep up. One really interesting thing is that a vaccine for malaria could be on the horizon, and even more novel treatments such as using gene editing technologies to eliminate malaria holds a lot of promise and is very exciting. However, in order to reduce the amount of malaria in the world and to save lives, international cooperation and robust focus needs to be maintained in order to achieve the goals of eventual eradication of malaria from around the entire world. Now, this mosquito here, my co-star, I'm not worried that she's given me malaria because I'm here on the coast of Maine. And here in Maine, there's a lot of mosquitoes, especially because it rained a lot this spring. But none of the mosquitoes carry malaria because none of them are the right type. None of them are Anopheles type mosquitoes. So I'm almost 100% sure that she hasn't given me malaria. As you know, mosquitoes in many parts around the world can cause malaria. And so the best way to prevent getting malaria is to prevent getting bitten by mosquitoes. Now, imagine if you didn't have to do anything in order to not get bitten by mosquitoes. You didn't have to sleep under a bed net, you didn't have to put on bug spray, you didn't have to wear long sleeve clothing. Imagine the mosquitoes just stayed away from you just because of who you were. Wouldn't that be cool? Now, that is the story of Nala here in the book Mosquitoes Don't Bite Me. And I like this book. It's a really fun read. Full disclosure, my aunt, Penny Noyce, wrote it, and actually she dedicated it to me and my brothers. It's a fun read. I think you'll enjoy it. It won a few awards. And it's a story about a young girl who's half Kenyan, half American, discovers she has this superpower where mosquitoes never ever bite her. And it's a story about international science research, about getting back in touch with your roots, culture, social justice, and medical justice, and it's a really interesting read. And I like it, of course, because it's dedicated to me and my brothers. And just like Nala, as I said, Nala is half Kenyan. Me and my brothers are half Kenyan too. However, unlike Nala, we always get bitten by mosquitoes. So I kind of wish I had her superpower.